我们都知道跟老板讲话需要一些小技巧，但是呢，面对在国际市场上的老板跟上司，又该如何有自信地传达自己的想法呢？那在今天的 episode 我们会来教大家6个好记的句型。Hello， 欢迎来到商业英语 Career Plus 的 podcast。在这边，我们利用多年国际职场与教学经验，带给大家最真实与贴切的职场英语知识。Hi, I'm Sherry, founder of Executive Plus. As a language trainer and certified coach, I've trained hundreds of managers from Fortune 500 companies such as Dior, Google, and Deloitte & Touche.
And I'm Nick, Director of Communication Strategy at Presentality.I've helped startups raise millions of US dollars in funding and trained executives of publicly listed companies to present on the global stage. Hey everyone, welcome to Career Plus Podcast episode 29. Now, this episode is actually the result of a bit of a surprise we had over a previous episode we did on National Boss Day.In that episode, we talked about a few questions or things that you could talk to your boss about to get a better understanding of their thought process, of their mentality, of what they think about success. And there was really great reception of that episode. It quickly became one of the highest and still is one of the highest listened to episodes. So today we wanted to do a quick follow-up.And share with you guys other kinds of ways that you can interact and think about how your boss wants information communicated to them.
所以在我们第12单元的 episode 12的时候，我们做了一个跟老板讲话的艺术。那个收听率还非常的高，那其实我们也蛮 surprised 的，所以我们就想说，可能有非常多的人希望更了解该怎么样跟老板去表达你自己的意见，尤其是当有可能你已经是现在是主管的职位了，那你要跟你底下有蛮多人你必须要管，那你也有上司，那这个时候你的workload 非常的重，那 of course 当每一天我们开会的时候就发现很多 changes， 你要该怎么样去跟老板去沟通或者是表达你的想法呢？那我们在今天想要讲到这个该怎么样跟老板表达你的意见的时候，我们有6种不同的状况，也就是6种比较常见的状况。 So 第一个呢，就是当你有一个困难的时候，你必须希望老板去跟你解释说，你该怎么做比较好的时候，你该怎么办？因为有非常多的人他可能就直接去跟老板讲说 I got a problem. Can you tell me what to do?
Yeah, definitely. This is something that I've had more and more CEOs talk to me and my coworkers about. It doesn't matter whether it's a, IPO publicly listed company down to a startup is they feel that people just come to them expecting solutions. They didn't think about the problem, they didn't process it, and they just go, what do I do? But also on the reverse side of that is you talk to, mid-level managers who feel it's like, it doesn't matter what I do. They just want it their way. So I have to just go and ask them what they want done because, what am I supposed to? So what we're trying to figure out is a really good way to branch in between these two things. How do you think carefully about what the boss might want ahead of time and then also propose your own solution so that they feel you did the work, right?
So one suggestion 这边建议就是你可以以下的方法，那比如说你已经想好了有可能的 solution， 你就可以这么说 We can do X or Y. I propose Y because...
Right. So the idea behind all this is you give them options. We can do X or Y. I would do Y because, and I would even follow it up as, but I'd like your input about what the best solution is.
所以这个代表了你已经去想了这个问题，这个该怎么去解决。那同时间你也可以请你老板给你一个想法，就是说，他们觉得哪一种 solution 会比较好。
Right. So the boss is getting everything that he was hoping for out of it. It's A, he gets the feeling that you have thought about what to do, option A, B, and C. But he's also getting the feeling that it's time for his input. It's time for his guidance. So this is where you're going is I'm going to do, or we can do A or B because here are the key reasons, but I'd also like your input.
Alright, 所以在第二个 scenario 的时候，我相信大家也常碰到，你不是很同意老板跟你讲的这种做法，就是你接下来可能有一个 project， 你不是非常同意他觉得他所建议的这个做法，那你该怎么去你要怎么去跟他沟通的这个部分
Yeah, you don't want to go up there and be like, that is a terrible idea, sir. That's a terrible idea.
Or you don't want to be like, sure, just kind of do it even though you feel like it's not a really good choice.
Right. I mean, a lot of people may feel that the non-confrontation route is the best thing. Like, I better not disagree because, they'll get upset at me. But the other half of that is if you're trying to move up the ladder, you're trying to show your leadership skill, you're trying to show your critical thinking skills, then you need to have that disagreement. You just need to be polite about
it.Right. 所以这个部分我们想建议大家就是你还是可以去第一个你还是可以去 agree 你的老板说我可以尝试着做你的这个方法但是你也可以去 voice 你自己所的想法 even though 可能你的想法并不是他所讲的 So for example what you can say is of course I'm glad to do it the way you asked but I want to mention that one possible problem is
Right. Or another way that you could do it. This sounds like a great plan. However, just on my experience, I'd like to mention a few issues.
Yeah. So again, I feel like this is like half and half, right? You voice your opinion, but also you sound agreeable that you're willing to take his route or her route.
Right. And again, this is depending on your boss's position. Let's say you're talking to the CEO. Their job is really to think about the vision of the company, how to take the company forward, how to get the money of the company. And you may be more in an operation. You're in an execution position. So you're in a good position to tell them, this is a great direction that we're taking the company. But execution-wise, we have a few challenges. Or execution-wise, I can see a few problems that I need to work with you to solve before we get into this plan, right?
那接下来这个问题我发现其实有很多人常在开会的时候那开会的时候很多事情会发生嘛那可能当时你不会想说去请你老板可以再讲一遍吗有时候你可能听不太懂或者他讲太快或者是他口音不是那么 native 那你有点在语言上面你听不太懂 again 这个时候你就必须要 asking for clarification asking for clarification 呢那可能在事后的时候你还是可以这么做并不代表说你自己的语言不好啊你就要去想办法再去 figure it out 你还是可以问问题 So one way you can ask is that I realized that I'm not entirely sure what you meant what you said X earlier.
Right. So a lot of this is not even just maybe a language issue, but it's some people think out loud and they just spit all the ideas out of their head. And that's the way that they process information. And so asking for clarification just helps you, and it may actually help them clarify what was the key thing out of all this stuff that they said.
Yeah.
Because, especially like one of my business partners, she thinks out loud. So if someone was just to take everything that came out of her head as like concrete, I should do that, they will get confused and then she will get confused. So asking for that clarification can just be, okay, I heard all these things, but I'm not really sure which of those you meant as the action I should take. Could you clarify? Or could you summarize what you would like to have me do about that?
So the next one, 我觉得下一个是我自己觉得非常的重要的一个部分。那我很希望我当时在公司的时候，我就有我有这个认知。也就是呢，你会发现有的时候上司会丢给你一大堆的工作项目，但是他根本不知道，他也忘记了你到底手上现在有多少事情要忙。所以呢，你根本不知道说哪一个地方，哪一个部分是要先做，哪个部分可以待会儿做，你会发现这个时候如果你是非常 action oriented you want to do everything at the same time.
Right. Execute.
Yeah.
But one of the key leadership and actually success skills that I've heard people talk about over and over again is the ability to prioritize.
Yeah. 所以这个部分你就可以很直接的问你老板或你的上司说 Can we talk about how I should prioritize? Again, you're asking them for their suggestions, right?
Right. it's a less confrontational than, oh my God, I can't do all this work. You tell me what I have to do first. And that's how we feel. We're like, how am I supposed to do this? But by opening up that conversation, it's like, can we talk about how I should prioritize? Meaning is I have all this stuff in front of me, but I need to know where you're looking for action, where you're looking for completion, so that I can make sure that it gets done.
Yeah. 所以请你的老板去帮助你 prioritize. I think it's a really effective way. Yeah.
Right.
And now the next one. 在接下来呢，我们当然上司一定都非常的忙碌，但是有的时候我们是很需要适时的很需要他们的 input。那如果你的上司他可能并不是在国内，你可能平常根本看不到他，他可能在一个 different time zone， 那你到底要怎么样联络到他，或者是你要抓住什么样的时机是他最愿意能够静下来好好跟你谈一些事情的时候。 So this way you can just simply ask, is there a way I could make it easier for you to give input?
Right. And the reason that you ask them for how they would like to be contacted, it also holds them accountable or keeps them responsible for that medium, right? It's one of those things where it's like, now we have email, we have message, we have phone call, we have 800 ways to contact someone, but that also means you have 800 things that you just want to ignore. So if you ask your bosses, like, what's the best way for me to give you this information? Should I email it? Should I put it in line? If, you know, for example, you just email everything to someone and they're like, well, I don't really check my email, or I have so many emails that I can't find it, then that becomes like, whose fault is it? Is it their fault for not checking the email? Is it your fault for not knowing how to contact them? But asking them, like, how would you prefer to be contacted? How would you prefer to get this information? That way they can't be like, well, I don't check my email. Be like, but you told me to send the email, right?
Yeah, again, you know, a lot of managers or CEOs, they actually prefer the face-to-face, or they prefer talking on the phone, instead of just email,
Right.
So, you know, just to make sure, 你就是 clarify 到底他们喜欢哪一种的方式，或者是什么时间，or maybe like, is it after your coffee in the morning, or, you know, right after lunch or right before lunch? What is their best time to reach them?
Right. And really clarifying down, it's like, how should I reach you? When's the best time to reach you? And sometimes you're going to get someone who's like, just do whatever. And actually just, my suggestion is, continue the conversation until you get a concrete answer. Because anyone who says do whatever, when you do whatever, it's not a priority for them, so they won't get to it. But if you're like, okay, I really need to schedule a consistent time to talk to you, or I really need to make sure that you see these reports as soon as possible. What is the absolute best way to make sure that happens?
Alright, 所以最后一个呢，我也觉得这个也是非常重要。你会发现有的时候你常常老板丢给你一个 assignment， 然后你开始做了，可是常常做到一半，突然间老板就说，我没有跟你讲说这个很重要的 information 嘛，你就发现 No, you did not tell me that.
Oh, this happens all the time. Doesn't matter if it's your boss or like clients. They'll give you everything and be like, oh, we can, get it done, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Oh, by the way, next Tuesday I have something.
Exactly.
I'm like, wait, hold on. What? Where'd that information come from?
所以 again, asking for clarification 也是非常的重要. It's nothing wrong with that. Again, 很多人他必须要 think out loud, right? So simply saying, can I repeat back my understanding of the assignments to make sure I've got it? Yeah.
Yeah. Or it's like, I'm going to quickly summarize what I've heard. Can you confirm that that's correct? And then summarize. And this is back to even the earlier thing we talked about, where it's like some people think out loud, or some people need all the information in front of them. So by clarifying through summarization, or by repeating it back to them, even they may not have realized that they missed that piece of information. And until they get it back, and they'll be like, well, wait, I didn't hear that part. And be like, well, I also didn't. So could you please tell me like the deadline? Could you please tell me who I should talk to, etc.?
Yeah, absolutely. So I really hope all of these really help you guys, because, had I known this, I think I would have had such an easier time at work back when I was working in the banking world. So yeah, so really hope you guys enjoy this episode, and we'll speak to you next time.
Bye.
Bye. 如果你喜欢我们的 podcast， 欢迎来追踪我们的主管英文 Executive Plus 的 Facebook， 那也可以写信到我们的信箱yourcareerplus@gmail.com。